Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. However you want to look at Vladimir Putin, he is the legitimate ruler of Russia. He was democratically elected. People might say whatever they want, as they might say about Biden and others. He is the ruler. His approval rating is in the 80s, around 80%. So the Russian people support this guy. Criminal or not, he is the one. Now, Russia is still a United Nations recognized country, so it's not like an non-existent country. So when you have the G20 meeting and Russia is part of that, you expect Vladimir Putin, the leader, the legitimate leader, democratically elected leader of Russia, to show up. Well, he's going to do exactly that. The next G20 Summit will be in Delhi, I think, in India. Now, you know, India plays both ways, more inclined towards Russia because it needs its resources and weapons, and is just doing its own thing. Good job, a free, independent country. Now, Putin is invited to the G20 meeting. Do you think he's going to show up? He says he will. What do you think will happen there? So let's look at this article coming from ABC or NBC News, the same thing. Putin considers attending G20 summit in person, setting up tense meeting with Western leaders. Okay, so Russian President Vladimir Putin is weighing whether to attend his first in-person meeting with Western leaders since his forces invaded Ukraine. Putin still hasn't ruled out appearing in person at the G20 meeting of major economies on September 9 to 10 in the Indian capital, New Delhi, according to a Kremlin official who did not want to be named because he does not make public statements. Okay, what the hell that guy is. Putin will not, or he avoided participating in person in the BRICS summit in Johannesburg, I think it will be, or Pretoria. I don't know exactly where it's going to be, in South Africa, which is going to be 23 and 24 of this month. Why? Did not want to create a problems. He said, well, I have more important things to do in the country here in Russia, since the military operations, special operations, that's how they call it. So he said, I'm not going to create problems from President Ramaphosa of South Africa, which South Africa is a signatory of the ICC, International Criminal Court. So those guys issued a arrest warrant on Putin. He doesn't want to expose Ramaphosa yet. Ramaphosa is on his side, but they don't have to make it all known. Hey, this guy's on my side. It's okay. India is not a signatory of the ICC, therefore he can show up with no problem. Well, what's going to happen? Do you think the Western leaders will not show up in New Delhi? Or what do you think they will do? Do you think they will bash? First, I think that Russia will have meetings with India, will have meetings with China, and of the rest. As the rest being a few Western countries, which is basically United States and its weasel countries, which is the vassal states, will say, oh, we're not going to talk to you. We want to, but the crazy doesn't let us. So let's read further here. Putin hasn't ruled out appearing in person at the G20 meeting of major economies on September 9 to 10 in the Indian capital, New Delhi, according to Tarala. The Russian president, facing an election in 9 months, would like to relaunch himself on the world stage after a period of relative isolation. That's false. Brought on by the war in Ukraine. That is wishful thinking. Like Chinese President Xi Jinping, he would also be keen to woo countries that aren't solid in the Western camp at an event closely watched in capitals around the world. Okay, first, Russia is no more isolated now than it was before the war. Before the war, the isolation came from the same about 40 countries that are working on United States' plantation. European Union, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, and Japan mainly. Okay, that's about 40 to 45 countries that are under the grip of these guys. They weren't their friends before, they are not now, and they will not be in the near future as well. But hey, there's a big world out there. That's about 195 countries. So if you just subtract the 40, okay, you got to about, or let's say 45 to make it nicer, you got to about 150 countries out there, including Russia, obviously, that are not on the plantation. Just to remind you, more than the European Union countries and the weasel states on the US plantations showed up and participated in Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg. About 50 countries, 49 to be exact. 49 is always bigger or greater than, let's say, 40, okay? Unless you are, how to call it, you identify as something, then yes, 40 is greater than 49. So, just to take Africa, already those guys did not isolate Putin. They showed up in St. Petersburg. Those are more countries than the guys that isolated him. We got South America. Remember South America? You got Mesoamerica or Middle America, or how do you want to call it. You got Mexico and all those. Those guys are not on the plantation. And you got Asia. So we got a big world out there that did not isolate Putin. So whenever you hear about 40 countries, 39 countries, 50 countries, those are the plantation countries. So when these guys are talking about the isolation, let me take my Stradivari violin and let me play you a Paganini. Okay? Alright, that's bullshit. Let's move on. Okay, so let's see what these guys are saying. But it's Putin's worldview, it's all about the timing. Okay, this guy, who wrote this motherfucker? Kir Simons, I know who you are already, and Natasha Lebedeva. Alright, I know her. And this guy is just a feeling. Alright, so Lebedeva, probably a Russian hater, and Simons, I don't have to go deeper in Kir's mind. Alright, I know, stereotyping, what can you do? Alright, going would come with a big risk. Okay, for a leader used to stage manage media. Okay, alright, these guys are just tards. I'm not gonna go further than that. Why? Because these guys are just wishful thinking and ideologues. These guys are not trying to figure out and assess situation and tell you, hey, I think this is the way it is. No, they already started with, he is isolated, which is bullshit. Okay, the first one was the first giveaway. Okay, already you are on the red. The next one is going to be strike 2, you're out. I'm not waiting for strike 3. So the strike 2 was over there when he said that Putin stages things. Like these guys are not. Anyway, my friends, here it is. He's going to show up probably at G20 and the guys can just rob it. That's what they're going to do. What they're going to do? Going to pretend, we're not going to talk to you. You know, these guys are more into form than into substance. Unfortunately, when I was a kid or a teenager, whatever was made in the USA was like mud up. That was the real deal. Nowadays, I don't think so. Why? Because these guys, when I arrived in this great country, things changed. Appearance is more important than the substance. Alright? So, you want to see that? Go, for instance, at, I know, it's a bad example, but as a good example, look for instance at Las Vegas. If you go to Las Vegas, you see over there the pyramids, you can see the Arc de Triomphe, you know, you see all those things, but they are fake. But people look at them as, oh, wow, that's beautiful, yeah, there's a theme park. That's a folk, that's a fake. It's a fake, but they take it as, oh, that was beautiful. It was beautiful, but it's fake. And anyway, hear this? This is an American house. Where I come from, that will be where you I don't know how in the hell, because Romania was poor. That's how where you house your pigs, all right, and your cattle. That, all right, that's what it is. Pefele. This is the American's house. Yeah, we all have houses. That kind. Anyway, it's a lot of things are just not the made in the USA as is used to. There are certain things that are still there, but very narrow, very limited. So nevertheless, he's going to show up. I hope he's going to show up. Why? So you're going to hear the media here, Biden, if he's going to be alive and still able to be resuscitated for the 15 minutes a day, going to say, well, he gave him a cold shoulder. Yeah, man. You know how you have here American politicians when they meet the public? Like they know them. They don't know shit. It's fake. fake. When you hear them in the debates and you hear people, as was Trump said, those are the donors, not the people. Oh, boo! Why? Because he said the emperor has no clothes. All right. So unfortunately, these guys are more interested in the form than in the substance. And they will be like, did you see how they snubbed Putin? Yeah, and Putin met the important countries and he made deals with them. And you just stay outside. Good job. But you can't live a life like that, my love. With, fake and phony, Anyway, man, appearances being presented as substance. Can't go too far with that. Well, I'm having a car. I'm pedaling. No. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.